This house on Green Street in Vidor has severely deteriorated over the past 3 decades since Steve and Kathy Page lived here with their two daughters. But another young husband and wife own it now, and they plan to bring the home back to life.
And that was at 4:20 a.m. that we received the call.
Just like Vidor Police Chief Rod Carroll is restoring the investigation into Kathy Page's death.
This case is not far from my heart at any point in time.
In fact, it sits on his desk and been top of mind since Carroll became chief in 2016. He decided to give a fresh look to the case that dates back to May 14th, 1991. That's when police responded to a wreck, a car found crashed into a ditch near the intersection of the I-10 service road and West Bolivar Street. 34-year-old Kathy Page was the woman behind the wheel, and she was dead.
They realized that the impact of this accident was not justified in being a fatality. It was a very low-speed impact into the ditch, at which time they activated the detectives and they began a murder investigation.
Chief Carroll says officers quickly recognized the accident scene had been staged to mislead investigators and cover up a homicide. He says an autopsy showed Kathy had been strangled to death, but Chief Carroll says Kathy is not the only victim of this unsolved case. He says it's taken a toll on Kathy's entire family, including one of her daughters, Monica Page, who in 2011, 20 years after her mom was killed, died of an overdose, most likely a suicide, at the age of just 27.
My thing is the person responsible for this death and anyone that was involved in the cover-up, they were actually involved in two deaths. I really truly believe that the daughter's death was a murder based on what happened many years earlier and how it was dealt with.
And while his daughter and one granddaughter are now side by side at Restlawn Memorial Park, James Fulton, who's in his 90s, will not rest until Kathy's killer is convicted of the crime.
He's not letting this die. He wants justice to be done.
Fulton, in fact, has single-handedly kept the case alive, using signs to make sure the investigation doesn't hit a dead end. His method has drawn attention from around the world. Billboards along Interstate 10.
There's always been a prime suspect. There have been some other issues that have come out of that, such as an individual that desecrated her grave that was charged and convicted here in Orange County, who happened to be her ex-husband.
Steve Page and Kathy were in the process of getting a divorce at the time of her death. Page was named the prime suspect days after Kathy's killing, and Chief Carroll says Page remains so today. Page was convicted, fined, and sentenced to probation after he was captured on video desecrating Kathy's grave. It shows him kicking a bunch of flowers off the headstone, claiming he did so because they were oh so cheap. And in 2000, Kathy's dad won a wrongful death civil lawsuit against Page, a civil jury finding him liable for Kathy's death and awarding her family $150,000. The verdict was upheld on appeal.
So we've gone through the process. With preponderance of the evidence was the last trial. The problem is beyond a reasonable doubt is the criminal side. It's a much higher standard. And that's the reason we need to make sure we get it right the first time we go, is we're not going to get a second chance.
That I didn't do it. I know that the facts clearly show that I didn't do it.
Page, now in his 60s, lives in the Houston area. He has always maintained his innocence, and in a recent interview with the Daily Mail, he said, quote, "You want someone to blame? The police bungled this case and told the family I'm the one to blame because they can't figure out what happened."
I believe there's someone out there in this community, in Orange County, Jefferson County, in Southeast Texas, maybe Southwest Louisiana, that has heard the individuals that were behind the cover-up on this crime and know what was involved. They need to come forward. It is time for this crime to be put to rest. It is time for her family to have closure to this event. And the thing is, like I said, is these people are dying. I would not want to have this on my soul when I cross the pearly gates, and they may not make it.
And you say people because obviously there's the killer, but you're saying there were other folks involved with the cover-up.
Yep, there's other people that have knowledge of the cover-up that were involved in the cover-up.
A cover-up that continues so many years later.
Anytime you conceal who murdered and attempt to intimidate witnesses, that is a cover-up.
Chief Carroll says during this reboot of the investigation, his department has collected additional information involving modern technology. and he says the case is now in the Orange County District Attorney's Office.
This is a complicated case. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. I know the DA's office has to struggle on. We only get one shot to convict the murderer of this crime, and it is a murder. So, you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. And, we're waiting to hear from the DA's office on what they want us to continue to do with this case, or if they're willing to take this case at this point in time.
Chief Carroll says the time has come for closure.
Every police chief that prior to me since this incident has looked into. That is our job, is to bring justice for the victims. I would love to be the one that brings the justice, especially before her dad passes.